So I was talking with Doug. He's the gentleman I got this square body crew cab GMC from, and he said, "Hey, I bought a Holley Sniper 2 EFI system for my C10, and I bet in a day we could throw that thing on and have it running." And I said, "Sure. I mean, that sounds great. Let's get together and we'll throw the truck together and throw the Sniper 2 system on and we'll get it running." So I'm gonna head on down to Doug's place and we're gonna throw everything on his C10, and the whole goal of the thing is to get it running, as quick and easy as possible, and then later he can go back and put all the wire loom on or make it look nice and clean things up and all that kind of stuff. But the goal is, let's get this running as quick as possible, and let's see how hard it is, because neither one of us has ever done the Sniper 2 system before, and I think it's actually fairly new from Holley. I'm seeing a lot of advertising, so must be new, right? So we're gonna go down there and throw that on, and we'll just kind of give you a quick overview of how difficult it really is. And can two idiots throw this thing together on a C10 in one day? So let's get going. So the way Holley advertises the Sniper 2 system is they say, oh, it's only 4 electrical connections. And I've seen this all over Facebook ads and internet ads that keep popping up in my feed and everything. 4 connections. That's it. And there are 4 connections. They're like battery plus, battery minus, fuel pump, and I don't know, something else. Anyway, but then you go on their visual advertising and it's fuel pump, battery, ignition, and attack signal, or RPM. None of that is true. So even if that were remotely true, you still need some kind of coil hookup for the computer to read from the negative side of the coil, whether you're using their ignition system or your existing ignition system. You still need a coil reference. You need the tach and the fuel pump, like they said, because it's a high pressure system. It's a high pressure fuel pump. So if you're going from a carburetor, you need to upgrade to a 60 psi system. You need battery power to the power distribution block, and you need a tach signal from your tach. But you cannot run it without an O2 sensor and a coolant sensor that they send with the kit, a 2-wire coolant sensor. It won't run without that. It needs to know engine temperature for closed open loop and for programming and everything. It won't even start the learning process if it doesn't have a proper coolant sensor in it. But it also won't run without the coil signal. So, I mean, even at the bare minimum, if you were to believe their advertising, they're still 2 connections short. At the bare minimum, you would need, 6 connections, but even those are multiple connections because the battery is 2 connections and the fuel pump is 2 connections because they want a dedicated ground for it and all that. Anyway, their advertising is way off. In addition to that, there's all the other connections that you need to make to the power distribution block. You need to hook the main harness into the power distribution block. You need to find a place to put that, everything else. It's not near as easy as they make it out to be, even remotely. So, although, yes, it is fairly simple, and possibly it's simpler than it used to be, they're ridiculously oversimplifying the installation in their advertising. So just be aware of that. So we headed on down, and we ended up being a little later than I expected because we had to make some stops along the way. But we got there, and Doug had the tank out because he's replacing the fuel pump, and with the high pressure pump and regulator, it's all together in one unit. So he was getting that in the tank, and we got there, and we just kind of launched into this thing. So I'll give you a quick overview of the system and run through it, and then we'll just launch right into it. Okay, so we got a Sniper EFI, a Holley Sniper EFI 2 kit here. We're not going to use the coil ignition part. We're going to keep the coil and ignition that's on the truck. I'll show you the truck in a minute. But we have the EFI unit here. It has standard pigtails and sensor pigtails and the plug for your control box. This, of course, mounts in place to your carburetor, obviously. And then they send you this nice junction block. And basically you just plug all of your connections that aren't nice plugs like this into your junction box as shown. And obviously we're not going to be using all of these because we're not going to be using the coil, but this is really nice. We have a location hopefully that we're going to put it, and basically everything from there is plug and play. And they give you, of course, all the wiring harnesses and the monitors and a coolant sensor, which this truck already has a similar coolant sensor in it because it has an aftermarket gauge package. So we may be able to reuse that one. I hope we can. If that's the case, we don't even have to drain the coolant or tap into the coolant system. This truck does have electric fans in it, which we are going to control with the kit. This kit does allow control of your electric fans. And of course there's a status light for that on the power distribution block. So all of this in the engine compartment is fairly simple. We're going to try to run as little through the firewall as possible because this is a really nice truck and we don't want to mess it up. We're also going to try to modify as little as possible. The goal is to get this running. We are going to have to put in an O2 sensor, which this option for the O2 sensor. It's just strapped on with these and you can always weld it later if you want to. That's nice. There's the O2 sensor in the harness. That's going to be easy enough. And new gaskets for the unit. I guess that's the monitor. So very simple, not much to it. Okay, so step one is going to be removing the existing Edelbrock carburetor. We're just going to kind of pull everything, lay it to the side. We're going to pull the carburetor off and we're just going to lay everything in place and kind of lay it out and see where everything falls before we actually end up splicing or bolting anything together. Hopefully that'll give us a feel for how long our wires are, and ideally we want to run most of the wires from the engine up through this plastic panel up here so that they're nice and safe and protect our plugs and wires, and then anything hopefully we're going to run down here and put any accessories we need to on the fender, like that power distribution block. That's the plan. Let's see how it works out when we lay everything out. So this is your standard Edelbrock carburetor. We have this nice fuel gauge here, but we can't reuse it because it's low PSI for carbureted use. So that is going to be coming off. I did check for vacuum ports and things on the existing unit. We'll show that to you in a second, but there's timing ports. They do not supply an actual port for the crankcase ventilation. We're not going to use that for now. We're just going to leave it vented. They don't supply the hose barb, is what I was trying to say. I put these where I'm sure to lose them, right over here. Oh, and now I'm going to the back. It's fun. Where's the ball? There we go. You should be able to reuse the throttle assemblies and everything because obviously they're the same bolt pattern. It looks like the throttle body kit that they give you has allowances for kickdown cable and everything for the transmission too, so that should be helpful. Check that out. That looks like something I would do. Get the vacuum line zip tied. That is exactly something I would do. Alright, I'm just going to unplug those for now and leave them down here. Yep, they won't fall down and get hot. We're going to disconnect that fuel line. The brake booster connects back here. The hose clamp? No hose clamp. Come on. Pull that off when we get to the back of the carburetor. This bracket off the throttle linkage there. And the springs. Now this should just lift right off. It says it doesn't lift right off. Let's disconnect that fuel line.
Such a pretty carburetor. Do you reuse it?
It is pretty. It's practically brand new. That's a $400 or $500 carburetor there. Let's set it over here temporarily. Hopefully this is new enough. This gasket will lift right off. It's very soaked. Sorry, Doug, I broke your old gasket.
You don't need it though, right?
No. That's why I checked beforehand if they gave us new ones in the kit. Yeah, take that off. That is nice and clean inside. Look at that. Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, that's nice. It's slotted for the dual bolt pattern. So this, I believe, we're just going to set it in place. We're not going to bolt it yet. Is that right? Oh, no, it goes this way. Okay. Sits on the studs there. I'm going to check the throttle bracket here.
Why switch to this one?
Clear everything. This is a fuel injection system. The one we took off was a carburetor, and although it's a nice carburetor, you know, it doesn't run like a modern engine. This one will also allow us to adjust for the blower a lot easier than with a carburetor where you have to manually tune everything. I'm going to hold this throttle bracket on, I'm just going to loosely stick these bolts on. And then later, I'm going to forget that I didn't tighten this down. And then we're going to have a massive air leak. So the old carburetor, the old carburetor was a little wider. This is a really nice throttle bracket. I gotta find out where he got this, because we can just move it for the narrow setting. We can move this whole thing over to the inner brace here, and then it will be in line with our throttle connection. So we're just gonna move that over. The spring, I'm thinking the spring, yep, that should be the right length too. Yep, that's the perfect, that feels like that might even be the right tension too. So that's going to be good. We just got to move that over when we get to it. These wires, these plugs are going to run over the top here, and these are going to fall as much inside this as possible. So these plugs will actually be pretty well shielded in there. So that's good. That's excellent. Keep them outside here so we don't lose them. And we'll lay out that part next. The coolant sensor down here that I was showing before, this is the existing one. This is obviously isn't a factory plug, but I believe the Holley plug, I think, is this the pigtail? I don't know, one of them is. It looks like it could be. We'll either splice into this to have the factory gauges work, or we'll just plug this in directly for testing. Not sure yet. We'll get to that. I'm not going to hook the vacuum lines. Is there a rear one? Oh, there's a rear one. Yep. How did I put that? There it is. Right on there. Okay, and the other one in the back is capped. I believe this is manifold vacuum, but this is also manifold vacuum, so we won't be using that one. Or I think we were running ported before for the distributor, so we'll run ported again. Maybe he was running manifold. I'm not sure. I usually run ported vacuum for these, but everyone has their preferences, I guess. Lay that out there. While I have this part here, I'm just gonna move this throttle bracket over. It should not get in the way. Transmission should be over as well. Okay. I need Allen keys for that little wrench. Gonna need like a 3/8 wrench behind you.
So I think it's going to be easier if I hook it up first, because then there might be some forward and back adjustment there that I want to do. I don't know yet. Just going to put it on loosely here. I don't know, I think we want it. Yeah, I think we want it over there. Okay, so let's go to the old carburetor here. Carburetor. We need these studs. I'm just going to pull these studs off of here. Oh, still gas coming out of there. That's going to be for our throttle. We need the lower one for a kickdown cable. That's the same deal. The kickdown cable wasn't hooked up. We might have to play around with that adjustment a little bit, but for now we're going to hook the throttle up. So, I don't want too much of a bend here, but you want to be, so that's, yeah, I mean that's acceptable. So that's with the throttle's all the way open. So yeah, I think that center hole should be just fine there. Anyway, when the time comes, that will go like that. Right now, this should give us the proper throttle usage there. So I'm going to hook up the distributor. I'll just leave that zip tie right on there, because that seems to do the trick really well. Okay, so now we got our layout. So now we're going to move around here to the fender. We should have a lot of extra, so that's good. Okay, so this is our main harness, and all these wires are the ones that are going to go to the junction block. I'm going to plug this in. I don't think we're actually going to have to unplug it again unless we want to get to anything. So now's the time to think about how you want them run, because it's kind of a pain to unplug them later. But, kind of just run these as we go here. Come on now. Okay. Just run this there. This one up there. Now I'm going to put the plug here. Okay. Well, for now, just lay that right in there. Where does that go? Paper behind you. So this coming up the main harness is the ignition connector. I haven't traced these out, but looks like the only one that you're using here is the tach signal, I guess. We'll figure that out. This, I believe, will go to the distributor, so I'm gonna have to dig back there around the distributor. So this one is actually not going to go. It's going to go like back there again, I guess. They have it taped here at the harness, but we'll figure that out. So these are the ones we're worried about right now. For length, PDM. This has LEDs on it, which we want to be able to see. Let's see how much wire we have. Yeah, we should have plenty to run over here. And we kind of tie it to the factory harness here. And we have plenty around the corner here, I believe. So that's good. I'll leave that set up there for the moment. Okay, let me figure, I gotta crawl back there by the distributor and find the plug. I'm looking for the plug that comes out of the distributor. Oh, I think I found it. What's this? This is the tach wire. Okay, this one here is the tach wire, it looks like. So this one here, we want to splice into this connector for the tech signal. Which, actually, yeah, because we can just loop this right out there since they have it taped here. And, yeah. Now what we'll do is we'll take this and we'll splice into that circuit, probably with a spade connector. I'm just going to plug this in for now, since I don't lose it. Actually, we have extra length there, and that's good. Let's just do that. Okay. We can easy plug into this. Pull that out there. Cut this off, and I'll put both wires in that spade connector. So this here is the controller, I believe. This is the 8 system. So this is the monitor. So that plugs in there. Probably going to be taking that into the cab. This is my screen protector there. So probably going to be taking that into the cab. Just leave your plug here. So that's mainly, so now, mainly it's wiring in. We'll verify that and we'll wire these connectors into the block. And the electric fan is this red wire here, I believe. All of these wires we can plug in here on this end coming from the unit right now. So that's easy enough. Did they give us? Oh, you don't even need ring terminals because you can just strip the wires and put them in there, and they have them pre-stripped. Wow. Okay, so we'll just start from the top down. We're going to need to run a dedicated ground for the fuel pump.
Oh, just right through the frame, or oh yeah,
to this block over here.
Okay.
So we're going to need to.
Which will come off of.
It's going to come off of that harness back there, the tank harness. Fancy new stuff here. So this is the new tank. This is the sender, and this has a pump in it, right? And this has the pump and everything in it, and a filter, I hear.
Yep.
Nice plug. So this is what Doug's gonna put in. Nice brand new fuel line. That's pretty much all for that. That's gonna go, oh, with a vent.
It's just not going to go under like you say. Jack the truck up, I gotta
Now, like I said, it's just gonna go under like.
Definitely go under with a bunch of cussing.
Well, that's what I was doing time lapse because you can't do the audio because you can't just. That's not for public consumption.
Okay.
I don't know what he's talking about. This is gonna go in so easy. I'm gonna go back to doing the easy stuff up here now. Feeding wires. I'm going to feed these across the battery. I'm going to kind of follow existing wires.
The gray is red, right?
Gray is red. That sounds perfectly logical. Gray is red and black is black.
Unless it's black-white.
Unless it's black-white and then it's still black.
Can you see where the exhaust comes down back here to the firewall?
Yeah.
See where the marker is?
Yep.
I'm thinking that's where the O2 sensor should go.
They say about, what are they, about 6 inches from the, yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it
I'm
looks
just gonna
like,
put a mark
it
on
looks
it.
like your angle's about right as well. I think it's like 15 degrees or
Yeah, 10.
25, 10, yeah, there we go.
I think it's like no less than 10 or something like that, they say.
I always install it wrong and, you know. Okay, so we have most of the wiring done. I thought we were mostly done, but then I just remembered the O2 sensor. We got to run the O2 sensor. But we've got the junction block, what do they call it, the PDM, I don't know, whatever. It's got I think it's got a bunch of relays and stuff anyway. Anyway, where all the wires get connected, that's here. I'm not going to put the cover on yet because not done yet, and we're not going to wire loom these until everything is all done. Our connectors, not using any of these wires for now, they're just going to sit back there. We have an extra coil here for now, that's just, we have the wires running back to the fuel tank, and the wires running to the TBI module, and we have the tack wire installed here, and battery power over there, we just have to connect that, and then that's pretty much it for wiring and setup. We got to tighten those bolts down, got the TBI, pulled it down. We ran, power fans, we ran the electric fans through this module as well. What else did we do? I think that's about it. They want you to run dedicated grounds for the fan and the fuel pump, and we did that. Rather than just running it to a chassis ground or something, all the grounds come back to here. So we did that to meet the specs they give you. And yeah, O2 sensor, and then I think we're good for wiring. Are we getting them more free advertising?
Yeah.
To match to there we go.
There you go.
We're running the hose to the tank. Instead of using the existing metal and rubber line, we're just going to run all new line. That'll eliminate a couple hassles we don't want to deal with. And then we need AN fittings. This has 2 fuel holes and inputs. So we just got to run AN fittings to those. And then we're ready to test. Okay, we got the coolant sensor hooked up. We got the O2 sensor hooked up. We got the exhaust hooked back up again after installing the O2 sensor. We got the TBI unit bolted down. We got the throttle hooked up and tightened. The only thing we don't have is the kickdown cable tightened, but for some reason that's binding in it's not coming out of the tube, so I don't know what's the deal there. We got all the wiring hooked into the junction block over there. And the only thing we don't have hooked up yet is the battery and the fuel lines. So I think that is, and we don't have the computer monitor hooked up yet for the system, but that's just a plug when we get to that. I think we got the tack hooked up, fuel filters, we got the fuel pump hooked up. Alright, so we're capping the front. Instructions say this has a built-in fuel crossover between front and back. So we're going to put fuel in the back, and we're capping the front, and that's what we're going with. Alright, I guess it's time for a smoke test.
Well, yeah, I guess we are going to smoke test first.
Yep, it's official.
Oh, I'm excited that I get to do it.
That's why you're doing it, not me.
You got a little sparky.
Is that good or bad?
Both?
Does it usually do that?
Probably.
I mean, I don't see anything on fire. I'm assuming this unit doesn't power up till you hit the ignition. That's probably...
Yeah, because there's an ignition wire going to it, right?
Yep. Assuming we got that part correct.
Yeah.
Oh look, hey, he did what I had to do. He zip tied the radiator to the core support. That's exactly what I had to do in the 86.
Make sure you cut that out. I don't want people knowing that.
I wanna pay special attention to this zip tied.
Well, I get a car show, people call me out on it. I'm not doing business.
All right. Well, I don't see anything on fire. All right, that's good. Left the vent cap on the fuel tank, and so we just went through the whole mess of. Unfortunately, we left the fuel tank down a little bit, so well, I didn't do it, but you know it's off now, so.
He left it down just enough to make it.
Number of cylinders is 8. Engine displacement. Target idle. What do we say, 850?
You got an automatic in this, right? Automatic
Yeah.
idle's a little higher, so yeah, that probably
Should be
sounds
about
good.
850. Should I do a stock mild cam or should I do a street strip?
They're saying between 7 and 13 inches of vacuum for these street strip one, but
I got my phone right here, I'll look it up. Power adder type, supercharger. RPM to sniper / ignition type. Do I do coil?
yeah, because we kept the coil with, and we don't have timing control.
A target AFR, I don't know what to do.
Well, target AFR, like on a ordinarily
zero
one,
boost.
you would want at 0. You would want 14.7 to 1. Air on the side of Little Rich. So I mean, you should be just like as close to stoichiometric as possible.
AFR offset per 7 PSIG. Well, I'm only going to run about 7 PSI.
Yeah, so that's basically max at max boost. I would think you'd be like 11 or 12 maybe.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
Yep, and then hit start. Once file's uploaded, the ignition switch needs to be cycled.
Oh, we should see if the, that's fuel pump.
Oh, yeah, see if there's fuel leaking.
Alright, it's leaking down there.
down there.
Right there by the filter.
All right, got a gas leak. This is why we test. Who says? So we were at the point where you turned the ignition on, and so we're like in the middle of the first cycle. So before starting the vehicle, verify all the sensors are reading properly. Once the ignition has been cycled after running the wizard, you should hear the fuel pump come on and run for 5 seconds.
Yeah, the fuel pump didn't shut off, did it?
No. Well, 5 seconds is a long time.
You ready to
Fuel
drive
prime.
again?
Am I ready?
Yeah.
Sure.
Alright, we're looking for fuel leaks. Sounds like it's leaking to me.
Well, they're shut off. Did you see any fuel?
Yep.
Check the engine compartment.
Oh.
Just to be sure. That's
What's next?
a
We have
good
to-
sign. Okay, so verify sensors. So you should have like a, your standard screen up there. It's a great time to check for fuel leaks, I hear.
Oh, good.
You should see an icon named initial startup. Select this. With the key on and engine off, the sensors should read. Okay, well, I guess we try and start it. With the handheld still on initial startup, crank the engine and look at RPM. It should change to sync NG. So it should say something weird for a second or two, and then show RPM. Engine should fire and run. Well, we hope so.
So do we start it?
Let me go out there and watch for things. See any fuel leaks, just yell. Yell, scream, wave your arms. Okay, I guess there's nothing for it. Oh, shut it down. We left the mechanical fuel pump in, didn't we? Why? There's still fuel in it.
Ready?
Yep.
Key on first. Okay, here we go. I hear wetness.
It's up here.
Yeah, it's up here going into the bucket.
Oh, okay.
I think we got all the fuel out of this line. That's a good thing.
I can hold it if you need to do something else.
Just hold that there. How do we verify if we got fuel pressure? All right, so we're gonna put a fuel pressure gauge on it. If I didn't mention that before, because we didn't have a way to verify the fuel pressure. I think that was our main problem. All right, okay, now Now you gotta go through the pump cycles again. And now we're down to 30. It just keeps dropping. We're hitting large air pockets, I think. I don't really know any better way to bleed it, honestly.
Start it.
I mean, I guess you can try and start it a couple times and see what happens. I mean, it's sitting at 30 right now.
There we go. I guess watch that gauge then and see what it does.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it didn't move. It stayed at 30 the whole time.
It tried to run though.
It did, yeah. I think
Longest run we've had.
I think it needs more fuel pressure though.
Yeah. Wow.
I think maybe we need to add some gas.
Alright, here we go. Ready?
Okay, flew right up to 60.
Okay.
Okay, we're getting some air bubbles out, but cycled them again. Still at 60, another air bubble.
Well, it's at 6, let's start it.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep. It went down to 50. Cycle it a few more times, there might still be air bubbles. There's another air bubble. That was a weird sound.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, the needle didn't even quiver that time or drop.
Alright, so now we're good there.
I think we're good on fuel. Ready when you are. Did you get a tack signal?
I was looking at the...
Gasoline. We have limited supplies of gas.
Is it gonna start?
No, I don't know. Let's find out. Let me wave away the smoke first.
You got fuel pressure, right?
I don't know. Let me check the gauge.
Stop it!
Oh, it started. The problem was the yellow wire wasn't hooked up to the negative side of the coil, which somebody forgot to do. Also, the temperature gauge, I forgot that these were all bus systems and you cannot hook them in tandem with existing gauges, which I had done. So we cut those out of the circuit and then we actually got good readouts from the tuning unit. So everything reads out good now, and it's just tuning and learning and wrapping it up, which I'm not going to do, he's going to do. So my job is done.
Till next time.
Till next time.
But it's easy enough. A couple idiots did it
Yeah, I mean, look at that.
in a day.
We did it, well, in half a day, because we did, well,
Yeah,
he
that's
did
true.
the tank pulled,
Yeah.
but we didn't really actually start installing things and pulling the carburetor until like noon or
Yeah.
12:30, 1 o'clock.
Yep.
And it's what, 8 now? I mean, we whipped that thing out pretty quick, but he did the fuel system, I did the wiring, and that's why it added like 2 hours, because we should have swapped.
Yeah, we should have. Fuel system's still not done. Oh wait, the wiring's not done.
Well, nothing's really done. I mean, everything needs wrapped up and wire loomed, and there's tanks hanging down under the truck, and all right, so we finished it. I don't know what we finished, but it
is done.
It is finished. So we got the thing up and running, and well, I had to go home to feed and water the dog and whatnot, so we took off home and we let Doug, you know, do the finalizing and everything, and he sent me a little recap of that, so I'll throw that in here and let you see where he's at now.
There she is, all cleaned up and pretty. Let's get her started.
So we got the EFI system in less than half a day. I mean, I don't even think I got there till like mid-afternoon, and the two of us got the system in. Doug handled all the fuel. He jumped on the tank and the fuel lines and everything, and I was up front with the wiring and everything, and we hammered that thing out in like half a day, and we actually got it running. So, I mean, it's not that difficult if you have a little bit of basic knowledge and you know what you're doing. So Holly is correct on that score. It is fairly plug and play. You know, pretty much you just hook up all the connections, put the thing on, and plug everything in, and get all your wires connected, put the O2 sensor in, the coolant sensor, and hook it up to the coil and the tach and all that stuff. And that's your basic stuff. That's all you need to run it. And then you hook up the screen module and just run through answer a few basic questions about your engine, which, you know, that's fairly standard for these things, and you can fire it up and run it. It'll run fairly well, and you can always go back and tune it later with the module to fine tune it, and, you know, if you forgot what cam you put in it or whatever, you know, you can go back and change that if you want and all that stuff. But so it went fairly well, and it's a fairly easy system to install overall. So they are correct on that. It's just they let on that it's a lot easier than it really is, and it's not as easy as they make it out to be in the advertising. So it's definitely not just 4 wiring connections like they say in all their ads that I'm seeing. It's more than that. At the bare basic, it's 6. But as I covered earlier. But anyway, so I mean, hopefully this video was helpful to someone, and you can, at the very least, you can see the two idiots can install a Holley Sniper 2 system in half a day. So there is that. Anyway, as always, I appreciate likes, comments, subscribes to the channel. Helps me out, gives me a motivation to keep doing what I'm doing. And as always, thanks for watching.